Well, hello, and thank you for joining me for another Alex on Tech and TechAdvice.life video interview. I'm joined today by Matthew Ratty. He's the CEO at Traffic Guard. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Alex. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks for taking the time. Now, Matthew, can you please tell us why you started the company, what Traffic Guard does to detect and prevent ad fraud, and what else it solves for your customers?
Sure. So we'll start back from the very first question of why we did it. So we started Traffic Guard really out of sheer desire to solve for an internal problem that we were having for an existing business that we were running. Mm-hmm. And so in short, we were a victim of ad fraud ourselves. And so we needed to solve it in order to survive ourselves. And so we hired some of the best engineers and data scientists from around the country to help us on this journey. And that we discovered that these fraudsters that were out there were easily circumventing the traditional measurement and anti-fraud platforms. And so we came up with our own sort of machine learning solution in order to combat this. And so one of the USPs or unique selling points of Traffic Guard is that we analyze every single point of engagement. So from the moment that an impression is served, all the way through to the click, all the way through to the install or purchase, and then all the on-site activity. And so it's our belief that in order to capture fraud, we really need to look at the full user journey of that fraud. And so the detection algorithms that Traffic Guard runs is extremely complex. And so we're looking beyond, the 2-3 dimensions that normal humans look at. And we're looking at over 200 different data points in order to determine what is anomalous and what is not. And so that's the reason why we started it, and that's how we detect and prevent going forward.
Well, that is pretty comprehensive, and also, you had a pain point that you needed to solve for yourself, and obviously that's a pain point that many other people have. And it's interesting to hear that those original, tools provided by whoever was having the ad platform just weren't good enough. The bad guys were figuring ways around it. So, kudos to you and your team for locking that down, because the criminals are everywhere. They try every trick in the book, and it's very annoying, actually. So it's good that we've got some wins against them, because they can't be winning all the time.
That's what we live for.
Yeah. So what is the state of ad fraud today in Australia compared with 5 years ago?
Well, I think we look at, firstly, to answer that question, let's look at it from a global perspective, right? Yeah. So, let's go macro to micro. So firstly, there's about $127 billion that is being lost to ad fraud globally. 127 billion. So it's a lot of money, right? So what does that mean? It means fake clicks, fake engagements, fake registrations, fake installs. All of these things that companies are paying for are fake or illegitimate, or they've been attributed to another party. And so that 127 billion is on a macro level. And in Australia, Australia's a pretty relatively small market when it compares to global. And I think at the moment, the latest research report from Juniper says it's around about $2 billion is being lost to ad fraud per year. Oh, that was the latest estimate. But if you look at that 2 billion as a function of just the raw cost of ad fraud, you're not taking into account the return on investment of that 2 billion. And so if you ask our friends over at Nielsen's, they will tell you that for every dollar being invested in the marketing funnel, you would expect a 3 times ROI on that. And so that $2 billion headline number is actually more like $6 billion that's being lost to ad fraud from a revenue potential point of view. So 2 billion just on ad fraud itself, and 6 billion on the return on investment of that $2 billion. Now, on a global basis, how does it compare to our global stats? It's relatively the same. And so if I look at any other country around the world, if I look at the US and I look at Europe, in terms of percentage, Australia is right on cue.
So those types of ad fraud you spoke about, fake installs, fake downloads, fake clicks, fake bot interactions, are they the main types of ad fraud, or are there some even more that we don't know about?
There's much more. They're just the effects of ad fraud: fake clicks, fake engagement, fake registrations. And it really sort of depends on what channel that you're advertising in. If you use Google PPC, for example, which a lot of companies do around the globe, what we see specifically in Google search or Google display is a lot of bots that are actually clicking on your own ads. These are bots that are designed to specifically exhaust your budget, or perform some sort of malicious attack on your campaigns, which, at the end of the day, if a bot is clicking on your ads or interacting with your ads, they're not your friend. Yeah. And so you're never going to monetize a bot. And then the other part of it is, what we term invalid traffic, which is, for an example would be, the same user clicking on your ad over 100 times in a day just to go and log in, for example. It could be like a serial gambler who just, types into Google the brand name, clicks on it. You've paid that cost of acquisition for me to go and log in to go and place a bet. And I do that 100 times in a day. The cost of acquisition has blown out completely, whilst this serial gambler is, checking on the latest odds or checking on how his bet's going. And so that's on Google. And then on mobile, it's traditional things that you see like click spam, known hosts, specific bot attacks going on. All that leads to is fake installs and fake events going on, and a lot of misattribution where one party is stealing the attribution from another. And so what happens is that you end up paying to the party which didn't actually provide you the install, and not paying to the party who provided you the install. So what happens is that you actually scale into this type of fraud.
Yeah, whenever I see the results in Google, and I can see the first one, it says ad or sponsored, and the next one directly underneath is the same one, which I also see in iTunes, App Store results. I mean, I never click on the one that's the ad, because the real one, the non-paid one is directly below. And I know that if I'm clicking on the ad, someone's paying for that. Usually, the company is paying for that. And in a way, it's designed to get you to click. And I don't know if Google or the other ad networks are doing that on purpose, but I would imagine sometimes these fraudulent campaigns would be set up by your competitors, as in, your XYZ business, and your competitor is trying to waste your ad budget because they're not playing fair, right?
Yeah, it's a common tactic. The old joke was divorce lawyers. Number one, I hope that no one ever has to deal with them. But if you do, and if you Google divorce lawyers in Melbourne or Sydney and you click on their ad, it's costing them around about $50 per click, because number one, it's competitive, and number two, Google knows that if you end up in that office, it's a 10-to-1 payback just for the initial consult. And so they can afford to do it. Now, if I was a competitor of yours, I would sit there over my morning coffee, click it 10 times, cost you $500, dust your daily budget, and move on with my life. And I'll do that at 5 o'clock each morning, so you're not appearing in the search engine result.
Yeah, well, it's sad that that's what it's come down to for some people, to act like that, but that's life, I guess. It also makes me think, who are Traffic Guard's own competitors, or is it something that is relatively new? You would think that Google and the ad networks themselves, as we were sort of saying before, would be having these sorts of tools, and they'd be trying very hard to make their systems as clean as possible. Otherwise, eventually they'll annoy people, their customers.
Yeah, to be quite frank, Google does a decent job at doing this, but they're not the panacea. They're not really motivated to reduce this type of activity, and they can't reduce it 100%. And that's where something like Traffic Guard comes in. We're independent, we're a third party, we're not paid on the amount of fraud that we capture, by the way. We're there to provide a measurement service. And in terms of direct competition across the omni-channel that we sit at, like if you look at Traffic Guard, we sit across mobile, we sit across Google PPC, we sit across Google PMax, we sit across affiliate, and we sit across social. That's a lot of channels to be across. No other anti-fraud measurement platform out there sits across all of this. And so our direct competitors at the moment in mobile and Google is a company called Check. Across Google PPC only, I think there's Lunio. And then you got your traditional verification companies, Double Verify and IIS. One of them actually tried to bid for a takeover of Traffic Guard around about 9 months ago. but they sit more on like the brand safety and viewability.
Okay, so one of the things you just mentioned there was PMax. Now, I haven't heard of PMax before, but I did see that you put out a press release about it. So what is PMax, for those who don't know, and what did you announce about it?
Sure. I mean, so PMax stands for performance maximization, or performance max. So it's Google's AI doing all of the bidding for you, right? So all of the smart bidding for you. So traditionally, when you start advertising, maybe you might use Google search, maybe you might use a bit of YouTube. You can allocate budget wherever you want. You can place those ads wherever you want. No longer. So Google's AI does that all for you in the background. The downside to it, of course, is that you're giving Google, let's call it $100,000 a month. You have no idea where that spend is going. You don't know whether it's on YouTube. You don't know whether it's on display. You don't know the amount of invalid traffic that's actually occurring or ad fraud. You have no visibility into any of this kind of stuff. And so marketers are increasingly wary about tools like this. And the problem with AI is that, if there's fraud that's going into it and it looks like real engagement, the AI will optimize towards that engagement. And so you end up spiraling out of control, which is what we've seen in a couple of our clients already.
And so what does Traffic Guard do? Does it help you to manage PMax or avoid it? Or, I mean, it sounds crazy that you don't have control as an advertiser as to where your ad spend goes. No wonder people are rebelling against it.
Yeah, I mean, so number one, what we do is we bring back that transparency to say, well, this is the amount of money being spent in search, this is the amount of money being spent on YouTube, et cetera, et cetera. And more importantly, here's the amount of invalid traffic that is happening within your budget. And then further to that, which is the whole crux of it, is we will prevent this invalid traffic from occurring in your PMax performance spend.
And is it possible to show some of these results to Google and say, hey, you actually owe us some money because your system has been, whether knowingly or not, it's been defrauding us? I mean, have you been able to get some money back, or is it just preventing all that and keeping your customers happy that way?
Yeah, it's more diagnosing and then preventing any future sort of invalid traffic from happening in our clients' budgets. I mean, I'm sure that you're probably aware of the allegations flying around in the world at the moment about, specifically with PMax, that YouTube was showing ads to children. I'm not sure if you're aware of this.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah,
it's a violation of COPPA, which is the Child Online Protection Agency. And so what's happening is that the moment that you actually serve an ad to a child on their device through YouTube, they could be watching CoComelon, or I don't know any kids shows, by the way, but CoComelon and something else. If they accidentally click on that ad and then go to the website, that advertiser is actually collecting the information of a minor. And so It's illegal under COPPA to do that. And so, we've also launched a solution which stops that from occurring as well.
Well, I would imagine that Traffic Guard is in high demand. People have a lot of traffic that need guarding.
It is very much in high demand at the moment, which is good.
Yeah. Yeah, well, absolutely. Now, you recently appointed media guru Joshua Lowcock as non-executive chairman. So how did that come about, and what will he bring to the table?
Yeah, I mean, I met him in New York as Traffic Guard was starting the agency rollout program. So right now we're very much go to market with, particular clients, and obviously the key to scale is going through these agencies. And so I met him with, my Traffic Guard hat on and his agency hat on. And he was interested and intrigued in how the actual technology works and how it differentiated itself from traditional players in market. And so, as I said, that was about 2 years ago now. He wanted to speak to a few clients. He wanted to make sure it worked. He did a lot of due diligence on the product. He was obviously very impressed, and he fell in love basically. And so he's our previous chairman was retiring, and so it was really good timing for Joshua to come on and take the reins. And he'll be overseeing a lot of the governance, number one, but also a lot of our agency strategy as well, which is key to growth at Traffic Guard.
Well, it never hurts to have a wise old hand at the helm to direct things in the right way, and I'm sure it'll be very fruitful.
Thank you.
Now, how do you see Traffic Guard evolving over the next couple of years?
Well, we've evolved significantly over the last couple of years, that's for sure. But I think that over the next couple of years from now, what our clients and spectators will see is really going into other channels. And so, as I said before, we're across Meta, we're across Google, we're across PPC, we're across mobile and affiliate, and that's been our strategy from demand. So client demand has led us there. And now client demand is leading us into other channels as well, such as LinkedIn, your Reddits, your Twitters, X, and any other channel that they advertise on. And so within our product roadmap over the next 12 to 18 months, it's more going along those other channels so we can monetize more of those, more of the advertising pie.
Yeah, and help your customers monetize more of their own real customers and not real criminals. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now,
exactly.
as we get towards the end of the interview, I always like to ask a couple of personal questions. The first of which is, can you please share a memory of your first computer?
My first computer? Yes, I can actually. So I believe, and I'm going to check with my mum after this, by the way, but I believe my first computer, I believe it was a Dell. And so I was about 7 years old. So that would have been 1995. So it would have been running probably Windows 95.
Yeah.
It was loud. It was this beige color. You started up, sounded like a jumbo jet starting up. It had the old floppy disk compartment when it started up. And obviously when it started up, you saw this matrix code when it started, but it was awesome, right? I mean, I remember it coming home and we're all setting it up and my dad was setting it up. I'm pretty sure the only thing I used it for at 7 years old, by the way, was to play Minecraft.
It was games.
Yeah, it was my old man's. But I do remember, I'm a little bit younger than most CEOs, but I still remember the days of the dial-up modem. Yeah, so I was talking to my nephew the other day and telling him about dial-up modems, and told him that Wi-Fi didn't exist, and I think it actually blew his mind. And so we had those dial-up modems, and it sounded like R2D2 basically.
Yeah, well, like fax machines still sound today. My first computer was in 1979. It was 2 years or 3 years before the IBM PC was invented. I remember my first 300 bits per second modem. I mean, 300 bits per second is like watching text go across the screen very, very slowly. And I remember Windows 1, Windows 2, Windows 95 when it came out. That was quite advanced. I mean, it's quite basic now. But yes, the memories of technology and how it has evolved, and to think, I mean, I used to have a really long telephone cable if I wanted to go from one room to another room with my laptop and not be right next to where the phone was, and to have a laptop that had modems in the side, like the more fancier ones. But then when Wi-Fi came along, wow, that was incredible. And yes, I mean, now cities have it free. It's free just about everywhere. I mean, it's very cheap to have a hotspot on your phone. And of course, the phones we have today, which are the conduits of all this information and advertising and traffic and all the rest. I mean, that was just a dream when I was
1979. I wasn't even born, Alex.
Well, I was 4.5 years old, so it was very early days. Yeah, very early days. But yeah, the kids today don't really. I mean, I used to dream of color graphics and 3D graphics, and I knew one day we'd have a little box on our car, which would be the map. I was the map. When Dad wanted to go to a garage sale, I would be the GPS looking at the map, turning it around. And of course, now we don't even have the boxes in the car anymore. It's all just part of our phone or part of our in-car entertainment system. So we've evolved fast, and that's obviously why you've evolved fast, because that's the world we now live in. Yeah.
You're making me appreciate the computer that I'm on right now.
Well, I mean, my MacBook Air M2 has no fan, and I've also got the MacBook Air M1. And whenever I had the Mac powered by an Intel processor, and whenever I go back to a Windows PC, even a brand new one, just the fan, the noise, it's so annoying. And the first thing you want to do with a new Windows PC is update it. You want to do Windows updates. And for some reason, Microsoft seems to think that is a task that is worthy of putting the fan on maximum. I mean, it's literally not. The first thing it does is woo. So yeah, definitely. Hopefully you'll use a Mac or a computer with no fan one day. The only fan it'll have is you. Now, my second last question is to ask if you could please share any of the best advice you received in life to help you get where you are today.
That's an easy one. Perseverance and hard work, and that is everything. I run a global SaaS tech business. 5 years ago, it was an idea on a piece of paper, and so running a company or doing anything in life that's worthwhile, you got to put in the work. So perseverance and hard work is what I'd start with, and then the second one that comes to mind is there was a quote. I can't remember who did it, but it was no statue was ever erected to a critic. And that holds
right.
That holds true. And the most important thing I'll tell you is that there are a lot of naysayers out there who believe and want you to fail, right? There's a lot of obviously people out there that will support you as well, but there's a lot of them out there that want to see you fail. And so your job, if you want to succeed, is not to get distracted by this. Your job is to remain focused. Your job is to remain resilient to external pressure. And eventually you'll break through. And then lastly, which is what I tell all of my staff, and that is surround yourself with people who will go into battle for you, because they are the people that will make you thrive. And so if you take those three things, perseverance and hard work, don't listen to the naysayers, and surround yourself with people that you trust, they are the three foundational platforms for growth. They're the three foundational platforms for success. And I truly believe that, by the way.
I can just tell from the way that you're describing it, that it's the bedrock that you've built your foundation upon, and look at where you are today.
Thank you.
Well, Matthew, what is your final message to the viewers and the readers, and to your current and future customers and partners?
Well, I'll start with current clients and partners. So firstly, we wouldn't be here without you. And so I want to say thank you very much for obviously all your trust that you put within Traffic Guard. To the viewers, I hope that, today that I've shed some light on, how ad fraud may be present in your own numbers. And obviously, if you believe that, your own numbers are subject to ad fraud, get in touch with me. Get in touch with me on LinkedIn, get in touch with Traffic Guard. It's very easy to get in touch with us. We'll run this trial. And so, we always like sharing what's happening in your own numbers. And to all of our future customers, I look forward to working with you one day and making sure that, we drive that transparency that you need in order to drive scale without the harsh effects of ad fraud.
Well, Matthew Ratty, CEO of Traffic Guard, thank you very much for your time. I wish you the best of success, and I do hope we can talk again in the future.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it, Alex.
Thank you. Bye-bye.